it going to be like in 7th period?
I don't know.
All right, well, we'll see.
Yeah. Because not everyone.
I'll grab an ocean water.
I think I need. Is this?
Have you ever had an ocean?
What?
An ocean water?
No, sir.
It's pretty good.
Never had an ocean. It's okay. We'll manage. Oops.
Medley's first, right?
Yeah. I accidentally spilled water on that. Just ignore it.
Dang. All right.
No big deal.
Medley. Oh, there are a lot of students.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get them to find it.
It's your job. That's why you're standing. Nice.
I'll just be like, hey guys, please settle down.
Just wait till they sit. Is this everybody?
Huh?
This is everybody?
Yeah, I feel like we get seated before we
Yeah.
before I go dead.
Huh.
I am. This is our biggest class, actually.
Okay, you can.
Never mind. Cool.
Okay.
You got it.
Good afternoon. We are excited to have veterans and members of our armed forces with us now as we learn about Veterans Day and the story of each of our guests. We thank them for their service to our country, a service that allows us to have freedoms that we enjoy today. I ask that you give each member your full attention. We will have time for questions after the presentations. Please help me by welcoming Sergeant Ray Medley from the Army to Har-Ber High School.
Good afternoon. Y'all care if I drink this? Sure. Good, because I'm going to. Okay, so I am Staff Sergeant Raymond Medley with the Army National Guard. I am your recruiting coordinator for Har-Ber High School. So we're going to talk today about a little bit about the military, some of our experiences. So they told me earlier I have to be in front of this podium, so I'll try to contain myself. I'm usually like a rat in a cage just wandering around aimlessly. So I've been in the Army National Guard for almost 18 years now. Started off like a lot of y'all I was born like 3 miles that way over at the very same hospital that stands there today in Springdale. I graduated from Springdale High School in 2003. Juvenile delinquent. Who went to Southwest? Like 5 of you? Okay, so I was once expelled from Southwest Junior High for vandalizing it. Don't hold that against me. Obviously, I'm not proud of that. I'm telling you that to tell you that really say this. That's how much a person can change in this kind of environment. So my first 18, 19 years, I was just wandering around the streets, quite literally, of Springdale, getting into whatever trouble I could, vandalizing, like spray painting things. That was kind of my thing. Breaking into places, whatever I could do, right? Until finally one day I got caught vandalizing Southwest Junior High. Somebody told on me. I spray painted a vulgarity about one of the assistant principals on the wall facing Shiloh. I got busted. Judge Zimmerman sent me to jail, little kid jail anyways. And then I decided, obviously, it's not what I want to do, right? It's not comfortable there. The food sucks. So, right? Enough said there. So that kind of went on for a couple of years. I still was doing things, if you know what I'm saying. From there, when I was 19, I was working at Neighborhood Market, same one on Sunset, right? Maybe you've been there. You're like, no, I go to the new one over by Don Tyson. Yeah, I don't blame you. It's nicer. So I'm working there, and this recruiter guy in camo shows up one day, and he's like, hey, you're young, you're in shape, you should join the National Guard. I'm like, who's that? Who's the National Guard? Is that you? He's like, yeah, you should do it. I'm like, why? He's like, he wasn't overly charismatic, believe it or not. He was like, he just kept saying you should. This goes on and on for about 9 months to almost a year. He keeps showing up randomly at my job, and he's like going out of his way to go over there. I'm like, I saw the dude's checks, because they still had checks back then. You're like, what's a check? Little paper things, got your address, stuff like that. It's like, you don't even live here. Like, why are you buying your groceries here? If you don't stop coming here, I'm going to file a restraining order. Just kidding, but not kidding. So finally one day he shows up, and he says, I got a deal for you. And I said, what? He goes, this is a scenario you cannot lose. I said, how? And he says, okay, so you can choose to do this, and at the end of this weekend, this upcoming weekend, it's like a Tuesday, some random Tuesday, right? So we got drill this weekend. If you go to this address in Clarksville, Arkansas, and hang out there, you are either going to find me at the end of this weekend and ask me, practically beg me, to join the Army National Guard. Or you're either going to do that. That's scenario one. That's door one. Door two is I will leave you alone here, and I'll stop stalking you and pretending like I'm buying groceries here when I don't even live by here. I can't lose, right? So I do. I said, okay, where's the address? I show up where he is. Show up to this random army-looking armory thing, right? All these dudes are running around with camos, have this humongous like army truck that looked like this covered wagon, like green thing on it, right? And they're like, all right, dude, new guy, get in the back of the truck. I'm like, who's new guy? Like, you're a new guy. Oh, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm new guy. Cool. So I get in the back of the truck, and this is strange. These like guerrilla fighter looking guys are in the back of this truck. I'm like taking to me to could have been like Honduras or somewhere for all I know, right? Really, it wasn't. It was like an hour later down to Fort Chaffee. So the truck finally stops. Truck stops. They start jumping out. They're like super excited. I'm like, what are these guys excited about, right? So I get out of the truck, and I notice we're in the forest. I didn't say woods. We're in the forest. Like, this is like legit forest. And there's like nothing around. It's so bizarre. It's like something out of a movie, right? The only thing that I can see besides this truck and these dudes in camo are a bunker and a picnic table, a long picnic table. It seemed like super long for a picnic table. And then all of a sudden, these dudes start walking out of the forest with this humongous crate. And there's a lot of them. It's obviously a really, really heavy crate. I'm like, what's in this crate? They put it on the picnic table. They start opening it up. And like, I'm just standing there kind of, kick back like this, like a ways away. I'm like, I don't know what's in there. It could be drugs or something for all I know, right? I don't even know. So, like, hey, new guy, are you going to help them? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, help them unload that, like unpack that. So I go up there and I quickly find out what's in this crate is C4. Okay, I wasn't in the military, but I see movies, I know what C4 looks like. And I'm amazed how much like Play-Doh, like clay it is. So they're like having me unwrap it. We're like putting these explosives together. We're like really doing it. And I'm like, what? Like, you want me to do this? Like, it's good. Like, this is legal? All right. Even if it's not, I'm cool anyways. So, yeah, no, we do. We put together this humongous, they call it a shape charge. We'll just call it a bomb for your listening pleasure here. And we make this gigantic bomb. And then they're like, okay, new guy, where do you want to put it? So I'm like spending 5 minutes like going back to juvenile delinquent mode, right? I'm like, where am I going to put this bomb? Like, coolest place in the world to like explode this bomb, right? So all I could find is this mud puddle. And I'm like, this is not going to work. You know, like I've messed with black cats and stuff. They don't work in water. They're like, dude, just put it in the mud puddle. It'll work. I'm like, are you sure? Like, yeah, no, it'll work. So I do. We go back to the bunker. So like, you want to torch this thing? I'm like, are you really asking me that? Duh, of course. So I do. It has this little tube thing you pull, and I pull it, and initially I'm thinking to myself, this sucks. It didn't even work. And before I could finish that thought, a big shock wave comes through. Comes just barreling through the bunker. A literal shock wave. Almost knocks me down. I wasn't even prepared for it. So this bunker has windows, and I jump up there. I'm like trying to look through the window, and you can't see anything but dirt and debris, right? Like, what are you looking at, dude? It's going to be a minute before you can see anything. I go, okay. They get on this walkie-talkie. They're like, all clear, say some other stuff. I go out there. Like, you want to see what you did? I'm like, duh. I go over there, and that mud puddle was the size of like a swimming pool. And that was kind of like the turning point in my life, right? I think most people have this. Whether you realize it and are actually aware of it or not, everybody has these turning points in their lives where literally you're in like a fork in the road where you go this way or you go that way. But either way you go, nothing is ever going to be the same in your life, okay? That was my moment. A lot of people like myself can go back to that exact moment. Some people, it's more of a feeling, an era, if you will, in their memory, right? So, it's then and there. I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't know what I think I know, and maybe I really don't know anything at all. I was so against this. I was fighting it so bad. I was like, this is not who I am. People are not going to yell at me. I'm not going to be good at this. Like, I put gel in my hair. You know, I'm way too much of a pretty boy to do this. Like, this ain't going to work out. But I do like blowing things up. And that's when my mindset kind of starts to change. Like, dude, wait a minute. So you're kind of like tearing stuff up illegally, like breaking the law. You could kind of do the same thing and not go to jail. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Dude, I think this is my thing. So, we spend the rest of the day just blowing stuff up, taking this stuff called deck cord, cutting down trees. And I'm thinking to myself, why don't lumberjacks use this? It's so much cheaper than chainsaws and stuff. I still don't know why they don't do that. Maybe they just don't like explosives in that industry, or Husqvarna needs to sell chainsaws or something. I don't know. But yeah, we're blowing everything up in sight we can think of. I'm like, this can't be legal, but it is, right? So, Sergeant Edge, that was the coolest thing about my recruiter was his name, Sergeant Edge. So I found him the next day, and little did I know he was like Nostradamus, who was like prophesying what would happen. And even though I was skeptical, I did what he said, and I literally was doing what he said I would do, asking him to join. Fast forward a couple years later, I'm actually kind of thriving in this environment. Like I'm better than I thought I would be at first, and then I keep getting even better and exceeding even my wildest expectations for this. I find myself a few years after I get in this place called the Balkans region of Europe, over by Greece, Romania, Macedonia, in this place called Kosovo. We're over there, and we're military police officers. So we're just driving around, drinking these things called macchiato. All you need to know is that's like European for coffee. That's all you need to know. So talking to Russian girls. That's all we're doing, right? And making a lot of money. I'm like, is this like legit? I'm back to this, like, is this legal? Because it doesn't seem like this is legal. Yeah, no, it was. So that couple years after that, I volunteered to go to Iraq. We're doing these convoys, and I'm thinking, yeah, I thought this place was more dangerous than this. It wasn't. Super hot, hottest place I'd ever been. That was the worst part of it. So, but I'm having a good time. You know, there's the occasional like pop shots from, a bridge or something, but nothing crazy, right? Right after that, I get back and I'm at this thing called annual training. 2 weeks, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. That's our thing, right? The Army National Guard. And one of the guys that I had served with over there, he kind of low-key recruited me to go to Afghanistan. He said, listen, dude, we've got this pretty high-speed mission to Afghanistan. I actually had to interview. I'm like, what do you mean interview, dude? It's like, no, yeah, I had to go to a literal interview to be the platoon sergeant. So I get 5 people. I can pick 5 people, anybody I want in the entire state, out of almost 10,000 people. You're the first one I've asked. So I'm like super flattered. I'm like, yeah, I mean, what do you say? I'm thinking, should you do this? But, I'm impulsive. So, of course, I said, yeah. He goes, and I'll get you your sergeant. I'll get you your E5 is what he said. I'm like, okay, cool. Bet I'm in. So next thing I know, I'm in Afghanistan. It's crazy there. The Taliban is everywhere, doing all kinds of stuff. We're literally, I'm leading a PSD team, like a personal security detail, like the bodyguards for this little agri team. So there's a team of farmers teaching people how to grow crops, vaccinate their animals, run medical clinics, dental clinics, stuff like that. Even supervising these little schools to make sure they let girls go in there and learn, right? So just random stuff starts happening that's not even dangerous. We're at this thing called a bazaar. All you need to know about a bazaar is like a kind of like an Arabic garage sale, like a swap meet, right? So this dude comes walking up with this raggedy towel over this box he's holding up. It's not a box though. It seems to be a cage, but I really can't see under it. He's holding it by something. And he walks up to us. He's like, barely speaks English. He's trying to sell us whatever's in the thing. It's like starts rattling around there and making noise. And it kind of sounds like a cat, but not differently, like more deep. So he pulls the thing off. We're like, okay, dude, we're not going to buy it unless you show us what it is. He's got a baby tiger in there. And he's like, $500. So, of course, we're like, done, dude. Done. Like, you take Eagle Cash? No, I'm just kidding. That's this crappy little card they give us. It's like a debit card. Corporal, you know what I'm saying. Eagle Cash. Yeah, they definitely don't take Eagle Cash there. But no, seriously, we're thinking, like, we're brainstorming. Me and my 2 friends, like, how do we get this tiger back? Like, literally. There's only a couple ways. We can't load him up in our backpack. We've got 6 months left till we leave. We can't even get this tiger back. We could put him in this Connex, which is a shipping container. But what is he going to eat? MREs the whole time? No. So we had to bail on our plan to buy the tiger. True story, though. So, but our thing is like, where'd you get this tiger at, dude? Did you steal it from a zoo? He's like, no. I caught it on the side of that mountain. I'm like, you're lying, dude. They don't have tigers here. They have tigers there. He wasn't lying. So, yeah, that random stuff happened. Eventually got back from Afghanistan, all my fingers and toes, and everybody that I was with made it through just fine. A couple of situations got dicey. That's a different story. But, yeah, we got back. Several years happened. I got married. I got divorced. Don't blame that on the military. That's life, people. Sorry, that thing. Did you see that thing jump out and get me? So, yeah, I got divorced. I'm back in my unit one day, and this guy, the guy that promoted me to E6, staff sergeant, his name's Jason Gates. He was in charge of our unit, and he's like, you should be a recruiter. The recruiters we got suck. And I'm like, no. And he's like, no, for real. You sell cars, it's basically the same thing. I'm like, it's nothing like that. So, ends up, just like Sergeant Edge, he was actually right. It's easier to recruit people than sell cars, and I was pretty good at selling cars. So, he convinced me to do that about three and a half years ago. And then my friend Thomas Brown Sergeant Brown, the guy that's still on those banners, little black guy, looks like Kevin Hart if he was bald. Yeah. I took over Har-Ber, and the rest is history. So what I want you to take away from that crazy random story that seemed like it was jumping 50 different places is a couple things. First of all, that is your life. That crazy random mess that you're just going all over this road and off the road, right? That and this. So I joined for one reason, and somewhere along the way I found the reason I stayed. Obviously, I've been in almost 20 years now. You're like, I know you look so young. Stop lying. But obviously, I've re-enlisted 3 times, okay? And I'm going to keep on re-enlisting because it's still fun. And I said I would always do this until it wasn't fun. It never stopped being fun. So somewhere along the way, I figured out that maybe I could do what Sergeant Edge did for me. Take this juvenile delinquent, off the street and help transform them into something they could have never imagined. But maybe even not just a juvenile delinquent. Maybe somebody was rich. Maybe just somebody who was in between. Maybe somebody who just needed to be something massive. I'm a firm believer that the biggest things, the most epic things in life often start off from the most humble beginnings, right? These places you would never expect them to come. And I love that long shot story. So I'm like, if I could give that back to many, many people, wouldn't that be the best thing ever? It's probably not what you were thinking a recruiter for the military would think, but that's the God's honest truth. You don't believe me? Ask C.J. Royal, Parker Jones, and I could go on all day because I'm pretty good at being a recruiter. Check me out at Free Bangs, ask me how. If you don't know what that is, look for us at lunch tomorrow. You're going to find out. What are your questions? In Afghanistan, MREs. That's the stuff I give out in my classes if you don't ask good questions. The things in the brown bags, they're not good. They have Skittles and M&Ms and stuff in them. The pound cakes, those are on point. Like you could probably sell those at Walmart, legit. You'd have to find like a better wrapper for them, or people would just walk by them. But yeah, other than that, the dog food is like better that I serve my 1-year-old German Shepherd than the stuff in there. What else y'all got? The good news is you get super jacked, right? Because all you can do there is work out, bro, and go on missions. Yes. Of course, we had 3. We had Amal, Safi, and another gentleman. I can't say his name. 2 out of the 3 are actually living here now. Thankfully, they were several months ago when we pulled out. That whole fiasco started to happen, and we started seeing people on the news hanging from nooses in Blackhawks and Apaches circling around Kandahar. I thought about my friend Amal, and I called him right away to make sure everything was cool, and he was. Because he's somebody who travels back and forth a lot. So I was like, I hope he wasn't there. And thankfully he wasn't, but his family was still there. So we were praying pretty hard for that. But yeah, no, we definitely, you cannot, if you have any kind of job outside what is known as the wire, so if you don't work on the fob, if you leave your base, you have to have a translator. So they speak 3 or 4 different dialects there. Help me out there, Corporal. Dari, Urdu. Yes. You could never learn all of them. It's a miracle to even learn one. The Arabic language is so hard to learn to begin with. Just basic Arabic. It's so difficult. So, yeah, we definitely had linguists. We couldn't have done anything without them, quite frankly. What else y'all got? A free Hellcat? No, I'll tell you what, I got the end of Afghanistan, a brand new vet. because I came back with like 85 grand. So I didn't get it given per se to me. Define giving. I had that much money in the bank, so I drove to Tulsa and I bought a brand new Corvette when I was like 28. So, yeah, it was legit. I tried to buy it in Springdale. This is a different story, but this dude didn't believe me. He thought I was lying about having this money. So, yeah, I said some words that I'm not going to repeat here, and then I drove to Tulsa, and then I came back and did a donut in the middle of his car lot. So, yeah, it's like Everett Chevrolet now. Yeah, real true story. What else y'all got? All right. So, yeah, that's it. Appreciate y'all.
Please help me by welcoming Justin Charles of the U.S. Marine Corps to Har-Ber as well.
What's up, everybody? Like you said, my name's Justin Charles. I'm not originally from Springdale, but I did graduate from Springdale in 1998. Actually, Coach Benson was my civics teacher in junior high. We go back that far. And so, yeah, I thank him for teaching me about American government, because it's eventually in my story you'll learn that I went into government work. So I've always had a sense of wanting to serve my country. Ever since I was a little kid, my mom actually has a picture of me when I was like 6 holding a plastic gun and falling asleep with it. And so that's kind of like my path into the military. And I make a joke that everything I learned as a kid, digging holes, playing war, having BB gun wars and stuff as a child, prepared me for everything I learned in the military. So after high school, I kind of worked a couple different jobs here and there, and then 9/11 came around. And I had already kind of known about terrorism a little bit from reading, and just I like to read on my own a lot. So the second I saw the second plane hit, I hopped in my car, didn't even tell my parents. I drove straight to the Marine recruiting office. I walked in, a high school friend of mine was a recruiter there, and I said, "Hey dude, where do I sign up?" He signed up. 3 weeks later, I'm in San Diego for boot camp, 13 weeks of boot camp. I had so much rage inside me, I just wanted to fight. I wanted to go to war. That was my experience. I asked to go to war. I felt like it was a duty that I had to fulfill. And if I didn't fulfill that duty, I was not worth anything to my community, my country, or anything. So 9/11 hits, I go to boot camp, I go to infantry school, followed on to go do some more specialized training. Next thing I know, I'm thinking I'm going to go to Afghanistan and fight the Taliban and fight Al-Qaeda, people who tore down our World Trade Center. Nope. 2003 rolls around, and my unit deploys to Iraq for the invasion of Iraq. Very heavily combat, a lot of fighting. 7.5 months there of combat. Then I come home. We do another train up. We're thinking we're going to go to Afghanistan this time. Nope, we go right back to Iraq. Everything my recruiter told me, hey, you're going to go see the world, you're going to be around women, you're going to be around this. Nope, straight to the desert every time. Second deployment, another deployment of combat. Unfortunately, on that one, I lost quite a bit of friends. Blown up a couple times myself in vehicles and on foot. Thankfully, I'm still here, have my fingers, toes. But I dealt with a lot of adversity afterwards, with post-traumatic stress, with anger issues, and I didn't know how to control it. I didn't know what to do, especially when I got out in 2006 off active duty. I was missing that sense of duty again, that sense of camaraderie. I was missing my friends, that died, and I was wondering why I survived, why they didn't survive, etc. So a friend of mine actually worked for a company called Blackwater Security. They're a real famous security company, and he actually recruited me to come work as a security contractor for them. So again, I pushed myself, my sense of duty to my country. I was going back over to, I'm thinking I'm going to go fight again. Nope. This time I'm going over as a protection guy, like a bodyguard for diplomats and politicians and whatnot. So I worked as a contractor for about 2 years with the U.S. State Department. From that point on, I ran into an old friend that I briefly knew in high school. Didn't really know him all that well, but this guy recruited me for a different program that was similar to the one I was on, but this was for the Central Intelligence Agency. I can't speak too much on it, but I spent the last 12 years working for them. Resigned from them in March 2020 and took a brief job at Walmart headquarters. Didn't really care for it. Still wanted that sense of duty, that sense of taking all my skills and everything I learned over 20 years and putting it to good use. So now I got on with a private family that's based out of Fort Smith in Northwest Arkansas, and I handle all of their close protection, all of their corporate security, all of their threat management, their travel. I go with them, travel with them. So the kind of rest is just taking all my skills and putting it into good use. So where I'm going with this is that everything I learned from the military taught me life lessons, taught me life skills, taught me how to be a good human being. When you go into the world that I went in, you see the worst of the worst. You see the worst that humanity can offer. You see little girls being bad things happen to them, little boys, bad things happen to them. Everybody, bad things happen to them. And it makes you not want to be like that. It makes you want to be a better human being. It gets you out of your little bubble. There's bigger things in this world than just Northwest Arkansas. There's bigger things than just your individualism. This whole world is made up of everybody, and we're all the same. And that's what the military taught me. It showed me humility, showed me courage, showed me bravery. And I take that into my job today, and I take that into my life today. So life lessons I learned from the Marine Corps. I learned how to survive, stress-wise. When you go through Marine boot camp, you've got drill instructors just screaming and spitting in your face and pushing you, and you kind of sit there and take it, but it makes you tough. It makes you become, you're immune to a lot of bad things that happen. So, when things are stressed out, I'm thinking, that ain't that bad, because I used to have these guys screaming in my face, and it just makes you a better human being. You kind of get out, you see other cultures, you see the life. But other life lessons from like my government work, spent about 14 years on 6 different countries and 3 different continents. Learning everything from going from Kenya to Africa, or parts of Africa, to Afghanistan, Ukraine, Eastern Europe, all kinds of places. You get to realize that these people are just like us. They're no different than you and I. They put their pants on the same way. They just have different traditions, different cultures, just like we do here in the U.S. So it taught me a lot about humility. It taught me a lot about how to respect others for what they believe in, or whoever they are, whether whatever their sexuality is, whatever their gender is. It just teaches you to respect those people, and not, whether you agree with it or not, it's not your place to judge them. It's just your place to love them as another human being. So that's one of the big things I take from being in the military and being in the government. And but running short on time, so I'm just going to open up to questions. Anybody? Yes. So it's kind of funny you say that. So actually, when I turned 18, I graduated high school, I actually joined the Army. I went to Army basic training. I got stuck in this place called the 30th AG, which is where they bring everybody in and they issue your gear, they shave your head, they do all this admin processing work. And I got stuck there, and I hated it. And I didn't want to do it, so I refused to train. I quit. And I quit on the Army, and I quit on my country, I quit on myself and my family and everything, so they sent me home. Well, that haunted me for about 3 years until 9/11 hit. And just, I've never quit anything in my life, and quitting that, I had to do something about it. So when 9/11 hit, that was my calling. I had to go back. And honestly, I was going to go back in the Army, but the day I showed up there, the Marine recruiting office was the only one open that early in the morning. And so I walked in and I saw a friend of mine from high school, and that was the path I took. Also thought to myself, I want the hardest, I want the scariest experience possible, you know, because I wanted to test myself. And I knew that the Marine Corps had the toughest boot camp, you know, essentially. And so that's essentially why I wanted to join. I just had this sense of honor and duty. I wanted to get back at the terrorists for what they did to us. So, any other questions? Yes.
You mentioned dealing with PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
What are things that we as citizens can be aware of or do that can help veterans dealing with PTSD?
Patience is the biggest one. Learning about the alternatives and giving them ideas for the alternatives. Like, for example, I found mixed martial arts. I found Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's what saved me. I had massive anger issues. I had flashbacks all the time. I was scared to go out in public because I was afraid everybody was going to hurt me and stuff. And so martial arts actually helped me get back on track. And actually going back overseas helped me too, because then I found my sense of purpose in life. I didn't know my sense of purpose when I got out. And that's a big thing. A lot of people, I think, are lost today. They don't know their sense of purpose. They don't know where they are in this world. If you find your sense of purpose, doesn't matter how silly someone else thinks it is, go for it. That's your dream, go for it. Do it. So that's martial arts, and then patience, and then just being there for them, you know. They call you at 2 a.m., you know, just sit there and listen. That's all we want, is somebody to listen to us, you know. So, anybody else? Okay, I got a question for you guys. Who in here is thinking about joining the military? Anybody? Anybody? You? What are you thinking about wanting to do? Air Force? Okay. Do you have like a mentor or anybody you're talking to? Okay. Sir Sergeant Medley can put you in touch with somebody, or they can get you. I feel like if you have a mentor, somebody who really can teach you about the military, about the good things and the bad things, I think that's the best way to learn about it. It's kind of like learning a foreign language, immersion. You know, you can't really learn it online or on yourself. You got to learn it through immersion. And that's one thing I learned with my government work. I was able to learn a foreign language. So it teaches you life lessons. So I'm what's that? Russian. Yeah, very, very hard language. I'm not very fluent in it anymore, but I know enough to get me by. So, yeah. But, all right, guys, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you for coming. The bell rings in a little under a minute, so if teachers, if you want to take your students back to your class, thank you for coming.